My name is Judy Obermeyer. I'm president of the Obermeyer Foundation, which was started with my husband Arthur because he ran into people in a lot of little towns that were doing things to preserve Jewish things in their local community. And he felt these people needed some kind of recognition. Right now, we have a world where anti-Semitism and bigotry of all kinds is on the rise. And if we don't combat it somehow, it's just going to get worse. This is not the way it has to be. We can have a much better world if we work together and we work for positive things and not negative things.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this year's presentation of the Obermeyer Awards. We've grown quite used to this form of getting together, so I'd like to welcome you today, the virtual audience today, all laureates who are with us online, and of course members of the jury and members of the Obermeyer family. My name is Shelley Kupferberg. I'm delighted to be your host tonight, and as you can see, I am at the plenary assembly of the Berlin House of Representatives. This house has been the host of the Obermeyer Awards for many years. I'm pleased not to be alone today here tonight. It's wonderful, especially in these pandemic times, to have somebody with you. Today we have the host, the Speaker of the Berlin House of Representatives. Good evening, Ralph Wieland. It's not the first year that you present the award, that you host this event here at the House of Representatives. You've been a reliable partner of the award for many years. How so? Well, we got in touch, the contact was established by my predecessor, so many years ago. We have been hosting an event to remember the victims of National Socialism or the Holocaust in January. For many years, one is the presentation of the Obermeyer Award. What's special is that this is an American foundation that honors people across Germany who are committed to working into dealing with history. So they are working to show that there have been 1,700 years of Jewish history in Germany. So when you commemorate the Shoah, it's important to show what we lost. What makes this prize so special to you, Mr. Wieland? Well, there are people who have worked for decades to champion their cause, to study history, to breathe new life into it in their hometowns. So this acknowledgement that we give to them through the Obermeyer Foundation, because many times these people had to face a lot of resistance, a lot of opposition, and we want to give them acknowledgement. And I think this is something very fascinating. And over the past years, there has been a new aspect to our event, which has been helped by the internet. When people try to research the traces of families where people who fled ended up. So when we managed to reunite families, one brother who lived in the United States and another brother who lived in Brazil, for instance, or Argentina, and that's the work that our laureates do, can bring together families. This is something that really moves me. And yes, this really gives me goosebumps. Ralph Wieland, thank you very much for being the host, the Speaker of the Berlin House of Representatives. So yes, such family reunions, which Ralf Wieland described, will be a topic today too. So now I would like to hand over to the co-host tonight, Patrick Ziegele. He is the director of the Anne Frank Zentrum and a member of the jury. And in his capacity as a jury member, he will talk about the selection of prize winners tonight. And first of all, he will talk to the president of the jury, Sarah Nachami, director and CEO of the Touro College, Berlin. Patrick, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Shelley Kupferberg. I have the honor and pleasure to talk to Sarah Nachama, the president of the jury. We spoke earlier on and you told me the nice story that the idea of the Obermeyer Award was born in the kitchen of Karen Franklin. Maybe you want to share this wonderful story with us. Well, yes, it was back in 1999. As we all know, the family Obermeyer visited Germany for the first time in 1997 to look into their family history. And when we were in the United States, Karen said, I know somebody who would like to support these people who live in small villages or towns in Germany, and this person would like to honor the work they do. And then Arthur Obermeyer came with us and he appointed me, as it were, to talk to the Berlin Senate whether they could support us, because we were thinking about a German Jewish History Award, and that's what I did. Back then, Reinhard Führer was the Speaker of the Berlin House of Representatives, and I talked to him, and he liked the idea, and that's how everything fell into place. So in 2001, we presented the prize for the first time here at the Berlin House of Representatives, and 20 years later we're still here, this year in a different form, I must say, but still at the Berlin Parliament. As a jury, we had a very difficult job once again. There were so many excellent candidates and nominees. Can you maybe tell us or give us an insight into the work we do as a jury and how difficult the decision was this year again? Yes, we had more than 40 candidates, 40 nominations that were submitted. And it's never easy to tell somebody, no, I like your work better than his work. But we tried, and we told many groups that they should re-candidate again next year because we like their work, and we would wish for them to resubmit their work at a later point in time, because we were only able to award 6 prizes. So we encouraged them to try again. You've been part of this endeavor for 20 years, right from the beginning. What would you say? How did the candidates change over the years? Were there any changes from your point of view? Yes. Especially the first 19 years, we only had history prizes. So people who had worked for Jewish life in Germany. And then the Widen the Circle was introduced to fight against anti-Semitism. So since last year, since our 20th anniversary, we introduced and launched this Widen the Circle Award, which is now an important part of our award. So it's important to build a bridge between the present and the past. Thank you very much, Sarah Nahama, for giving us insight into your work as a member of the jury. And now back to Shelley Kupferberg. Thank you very much from my side as well, Sarah Nahama and Patrick. And if you wonder who is part of the jury as well, I'd like to tell you it's the family Obermeier, Joel Obermeier and Hank Obermeier. Besides Sarah Nahama as the president, then Christina M. Finch, Annette Kahane, Hanno Löwy, Frank Mecklenburg, Patrick Siegele, we heard him, and Ralf Wieland, we heard from him as well. And on this note, I would like to thank everyone who made this event, this online hybrid event possible. And of course, I'd like to thank the interpreters as well. You can't see them, but they are already working very hard. A man and a woman, Stefan Holstein and Parisa Pasa. Thank you very much indeed for your contribution. Before we come to the award ceremony, we would like to present the activities of the Obermeier Foundation, so enjoy the film.
Widen the Circle started with this award ceremony that my father started in Berlin that's been going on for 20 years that honors Germans who have done profound work to preserve pieces of Jewish history and culture in Germany. Many of these same awardees have done very, very profound things to fight prejudice or to reconcile with a history that allowed prejudice to grow, or to make connections in the world that you would just not expect. Our awardees are amazing, and if you hear their stories, you cannot help but have some hope. I think about the Yellow Brick Wall project at an elementary school in Berlin. It teaches children about the Holocaust and the importance of preventing hate. The project is so inspiring that it influenced the construction of a memorial to the victims of lynching in Montgomery, Alabama. Or there's a man from southern Germany who spent 40 years in his hometown researching the history of the local Jewish community. Each year, through his efforts, dozens of Jews from around the world come to town to locate their family roots. In addition to seeing where their relatives lived and worked, they get an acknowledgement of how their relatives suffered that is very powerful. Or a teacher whose students are mostly from difficult immigrant backgrounds. She found that empathy for their suffering is the first step in helping them understand the suffering of others. They maintain a Holocaust memorial at a train tracks near their school, a place where thousands of Jews were sent to death camps. But instead of thinking of it as just an award ceremony, you can think of it in a different way, which is it's kind of a platform. This shouldn't just be about an award, it should be about impact. And that's what became Widen the Circle. So we thought, okay, if we're gonna have an impact, we have all these awardees, they have all this knowledge, maybe we should try and start a network. And that was the beginning of what became the forum, that we building a network that we never had before, both in terms of network of people doing the work, but also a network of what I'll call like visiting experts who are really good at what they do and feel moved by what we're doing. We've started this in Germany because that's where our foundation is, that's where our history is. But we can see how the same activities can be valuable elsewhere. And so now we're beginning both think and do things in the United States where we can experiment and begin to understand what's going to work there. And we know that these issues are relevant in both places. There's a tide of hate out there, and what we know is we have a way of having an impact on it, which is by identifying people who are on the ground level, are doing effective things to push back against this tide. And we bring ingredients. We bring our own expertise, we bring our network, we bring the ability to recognize people and to tell their stories and to inspire in order to push back against this tide of hate, to expand what they can do, but also extend it so that other people can do it elsewhere in the world. Widen the Circle finds and recognizes extraordinary work happening in unexpected places, primarily that relates to issues of prejudice and a shared understanding of the past. We are doing this because it's desperately needed. We're doing this because we have a 2-decade history of involvement in these issues. We're doing this because we've developed the capabilities and network and team to have a broad impact, and it's time for us to step up this kind of challenge. Our goal is to widen the circle of respect, understanding, and reconciliation.
So that was a brief insight into the multifaceted work and commitment of the Obermeier Foundation, and I'm delighted to have the chance to speak to Joel Obermeier later tonight. You saw him already in the film. If you were now lost in translation, the reason was that we had a mix-up with the channels, so please try again, don't give up, stay with us. We're really sorry. So now we'll have some music. I'd like to introduce the duo Tango Deluxe. Welcome with me the cellist Alex Dixon and Gerhard Schiever at the accordion. They both share a fierce passion for dance. In other words, for tango. The title already says it. We will now hear music by the Grand Master of Tango Nuevo, Astor Piazzolla's Libero Tango. That was the duo Tango Deluxe, which will play some music tonight for us. So now we'll come to the awardees of this year. The Obermeier Awards 2021. Maybe let me say first of all that there is no list or no rank. All prizes have the same value, so there is no particular order. The first prize will go to the association Akubitz from Pirna in Saxony, and I'd like to say congratulations. And I now ask the co-moderator, the co-host Patrick Akubitz, stands for Alternative Cultural and Educational Center in southeastern Saxony. What makes this project so special, Patrick? Well, Ms. Nechama said it in the interview earlier on that the award has been broadened over the past years. It's no longer just about projects or initiatives or people who work on Jewish German history, but people who champion and stand up against racism. And Akubitz is an example of such an initiative. And probably they wouldn't have been awardee 5 years ago. What's so special about Akubitz, and we will see this very clearly later on in the film, is that this association is working in a region that has very strong right-wing structures, and that this association met a lot of opposition and resistance, and they never resigned, and they kept working really, really hard. And what we liked a lot about the project was that their commitment, the fight against right-wing extremism and their commitment to democracy was linked to looking into history, a Jewish history in the region. So they took the situation as an opportunity to look into history. In other words, the other way around, learning lessons from the present and using the present to look into history. So they took a very multifaceted approach, hiking tours, for instance. And we heard from the Obermayr Foundation, like we heard from the Obermayr Foundation, using modern forms. There's now a choir, for instance, that plays forbidden music by Jewish musicians. So they are taking a very innovative approach. So Patrick just said it. There will be a short film about every prize winner, and we will now see the first film.
Das Akubitz gibt es jetzt seit 2001. Die Situation war einfach, dass der Landkreis kurz nach der Wende geprägt ist von einer Zunahme rechter Strukturen, von der Ausbildung rechter Bewegungen und dass es viele Jugendliche gab im Landkreis, die eben auch betroffen waren von rechter oder rassistischer Gewalt. Das, finde ich, zeigt so die Situation, in der wir uns als Jugendliche eben befunden haben und die für uns eben so unerträglich war, dass wir gesagt haben, wir wollen auch was machen, wir wollen eine Alternative, deswegen auch alternatives Kultur- und Bildungszentrum zu dieser rechten Hegemonie.
Das Besondere war daran eben, dass die jeweiligen Mitglieder des Vereins zwar unterschiedlich waren, aber dieselben Erfahrungen gemacht haben und eben auch dieselben Ziele verfolgt haben, nämlich den Anlaufpunkt zu bieten für Jugendliche, die betroffen waren, einen Anlaufpunkt zu geben für Jugendliche und junge Erwachsene, die konkret an den gesellschaftlichen Verhältnissen was ändern wollen oder die Gesellschaft wachrütteln wollen, zu sagen, das ist ein Problem. Unser Verein verfolgt das Ziel, Rassismus, Antisemitismus, Homophobie, Sexismus, dass es das in der Gesellschaft gibt, eben auch zu benennen. Und genau diese Beteiligung an diesen gesellschaftlichen Diskursen, das würde, glaube ich, nicht so gut funktionieren oder hätte nicht funktioniert, wenn man das als Einzelperson macht, sondern das Wichtigste, wenn man sich eben zusammenfindet und auch an konkreten Sachen dann arbeiten kann.
Im Grunde haben wir 2009 oder 2008 dieses Angebot der Wanderung oder überhaupt der lokalen Erinnerungsarbeit so nach und nach für uns entwickelt mit diesen ganzen Bausteinen. Wir machen diese Wanderseminare an konkrete Orte mit Menschen konkret. Wir haben diese ganzen Veröffentlichungen von kleinen Flyern, Broschüren bis hin zu Büchern und wir haben diesen digitalen Geschichtsatlas online, an dem man zugreifen kann. Aber eben auch so diese Comics. Bei den Comic-Geschichten ging es speziell darum, sich an Jugendliche zu wenden. Und im Verlauf dieser Geschichte gibt es immer quasi Textblöcke, Informationshinweise. Wo kann ich eigentlich hingehen? Wer hilft mir? Was ist überhaupt ein rechter Übergriff? Was ist ein rassistischer Übergriff?
Oder wir haben einen antirassistischen Fußballcup ausgerichtet, haben ganz viele Bildungsfahrten gemacht, um Leute zu motivieren, sich selber gegen Diskriminierung aller Art einzusetzen, um Leuten die Möglichkeit zu geben, sich zusammenzufinden.
Wir haben uns jetzt über die letzten mehr als 10 Jahre verschiedene Wanderrouten erarbeitet. Es gibt Wanderungen auf den Spuren dieser narzisstischen Verbrechen. Es hat kurz nach der Machtübergabe an die Nazis wurden die ersten KZs eingerichtet, wurden die ersten Menschen aus der Region oder weiterer Regionen inhaftiert. Und es war für jeden sichtbar, am Marktplatz, im Zentrum der Stadt sind solche Folterstätten entstanden.
Die letzte Wanderung, wo ich war, da ging es um das Konzentrationslager Hohenstein. Das ist eine Burg in der sächsischen Schweiz und wenn man dort als Tourist hinkommt und auf diese Burg geht, dann weiß man überhaupt nicht, dass in diesem Gebäude mal ein Konzentrationslager war. Wenn man das weiß und dann dort wandern ist, dann hat man einen ganz anderen Blick drauf. Also dann ist es nicht nur wunderschöne Natur, sondern dann ist es auch ein historischer Ort, den man bewusster wahrnimmt und sich auch Fragen stellt, was ist denn passiert, was war hinter diesen Türen in dieser Zeit.
Wir wollen im Grunde eben lokale Geschichte zeigen. Wir wollen halt zeigen, dass es sozusagen in den einzelnen Dörfern, in den einzelnen Gemeinden, in den Städten der Region sowohl Verfolgung und die Verbrechen der Nationalsozialisten gegeben hat, aber auf der anderen Seite auch Widerstand und Leute, die sozusagen sich aktiviert haben, gegen diese Nazis und gegen ihr verbrecherisches System aufzustehen.
Wenn ich jetzt mitkriege, dass es zum Beispiel in der sächsischen Schweiz hohen Wählerzuspruch für die AfD oder für irgendwelche anderen rechten Parteien gibt, dann finde ich es eben total gut zu wissen, dass es da auch so Leute wie es Akkubitz gibt. Also Leute, die für demokratische Werte die ganze Zeit kämpfen und sich da Mittel und Wege überlegen, wie man das auch vermitteln kann und wie man sich mit Geschichte auseinandersetzen kann.
Also ich finde es wichtig, dass man aktiv bleibt, also dass man sich nicht nur in so eine defensive Rolle gibt. Wenn man die Probleme sieht, versucht sie irgendwie zu lösen. Also das ist total schön, wenn man sieht, die Arbeit, die Netzwerkarbeit, das Organisieren von verschiedenen Veranstaltungen hat eben auch konkrete Auswirkungen. Und sei es, dass sich eben andere Leute für dieses Thema interessieren und auch selber dann dafür einsetzen.
The association Akkubitz has won this year's award, Obermeier Award. Congratulations again from me to the representatives of Akkubitz, Stefan Maria Richter and Anne Nitschke, as well as Sven Gerstner-Nitschke. Now we can talk to Mr. Richter, to Marita Richter and Stefan Richter. Both of them are with us online. And it was quite remarkable, actually, how diverse your work has become over the years. Because 20 years ago, you started on a very small scale. What was the motivation to go on to create ever newer things? Well, I think there are many new aspects that are interesting, but the core aspect for me is the joy and the motivation to do this voluntary work, even though the topics and the issues are not always light-hearted. But it gives me a great motivation to explore these topics, to walk in the footsteps of people who lived in the past, and to bring the past back to life, to teach it to other people, and motivate other people also to look at history. So this is why we have all this great diversity. The exhibitions we organize, the comics we publish, the educational tours we offer, the hiking tours, and also the digital atlas on these historical sites. This is also a core aspect of our work. I think you started out from a political vantage point because there is a big problem with far-right extremists in the region where you are. What is the situation today? Well, the situation has changed. The far-right extremists, the neo-Nazis, are not really as organized as they used to be back at the turn of the millennium. And the atmosphere in society, the social climate has really changed. Now we are seeing movements such as Pegida, which is also a far-right movement. There are insults, racial slurs that we hear in public life. This has come to the fore much more compared to back then. Well, thank you very much for your great motivation and also for your courage that you are showing, because we're all affected by these problems. Thanks a lot and congratulations again on winning the Obermeyer Award. Thanks for your great work. And of course, you can also look at the certificate that you will receive and which we will send to you shortly, and a pin which we will also hand over to you. And of course, also the prize money of 1,000 euros. So much success for your future work. So this is all on Accubits. Now let's move on to the Erich Zeigner House in Leipzig, the second awardee of tonight. Now, Patrick, what is so special about this project? Well, the Erich Zeigner House is also based in Saxony, in the federal state of Saxony, but there are some parallels to the Accubits Association. We were greatly motivated by the local history approach, but also by the region. This work also bears on the entire region around Leipzig. It is especially important to reach out to people in urban areas, or rather in rural areas from urban areas, because very often these rural areas lack the infrastructure to do memory work. And this is where the Erich Zeigner House in Leipzig and the surroundings of Leipzig does outstanding work. Now, the Erich Zeigner House is so special because it takes a biographical approach. Erich Zeigner is a so-called silent hero. He has worked in the resistance. He saved Jews from persecution by the Nazis. So through this biographical approach, the Erich Zeigner House teaches young people to relate to the past and also develop a very personal take and to relate it to their personal lives. And this is why we as a jury said, well, this is definitely a candidate for the Obermeyer Award. Great, now let's take a closer look at the work of the Erich Zeigner House in the following video.
Wir befinden uns hier in dem ehemaligen Arbeits- und Wohnzimmer von Erich Zeigner, dem sächsischen Ministerpräsidenten und Oberbürgermeister der Stadt Leipzig. Erich Zeigner ist Jurist gewesen. Er wurde 1921 sächsischer Justizminister und 1923 für eine kurze Zeit sächsischer Ministerpräsident. Das Entscheidende zu der Person Zeigners ist einfach, dass er hier zusammen mit seiner Sekretärin Johanna Landgraf den Leipziger Rettungswiderstand gegründet hat. Er hat hier in seinen Räumlichkeiten einer jüdischen Familie das Leben gerettet, indem er sie zunächst versteckt hat und dann die Reise nach Übersee organisiert hat. Wir beschäftigen uns zwar mit der Vergangenheit, auch mit der Person Zeigners und dessen Wirken, aber die Vergangenheit strahlt einfach auch in die Gegenwart und Zukunft aus. Und diese erinnerungskulturelle Würdigung sowohl des Rettungswiderstandes in Leipzig als auch die erinnerungskulturelle Würdigung der Opferbiografien ist für uns derart zentral, dass wir wirklich auch tagespolitisch mahnend erinnern wollen.
Also ich merke im Unterricht, dass die Schüler aus dem Erich Zeigner Haus viel mitnehmen und die Schüler total bereichert. Und für mich ist das ein ganz, ganz großer Beitrag für Schüler, auch fest in ihrer Argumentation zu sein gegen die rechten Tendenzen, die es gibt.
Das Erich Zeigner Haus hat mir mitgegeben, mit offenen Augen durchs Leben zu gehen. Ich habe mich jetzt viel mehr mit der Geschichte beschäftigt und habe gesehen, dass es früher keine Menschen gab oder es gab zu wenig Menschen, die Stopp gesagt haben. Und damit gab es einfach Auswirkungen, die nie wieder passieren sollten.
Grundlegend kann man sagen, dass wir uns ab 2014 vor allem entschieden haben, die bildungspolitische Arbeit nicht nur in der Großstadt Leipzig, sondern im Leipziger Land, in den kleineren Städten umzusetzen. Wir gehen nicht wie viele Träger an einzelne Projekttage in Schulen, sondern wir gehen über ein ganzes Kalenderjahr an Schulen. Wir treffen uns alle 14 Tage nach der Schule mit freiwilligen Schülerinnen und Schülern ab Klasse 8 bis 12. Wir leiten die Schülerinnen an, selbstständig die Opferbiografien in den Archiven zu recherchieren, weil wir dann im Unterschied zu dem theoretischen Wissen, was in der Schule vermittelt wird, eine emotionale Beziehung zu der Person, über die wir recherchieren, aufbauen.
Mich hat das sehr bewegt. Wir waren ja auch in einer Synagoge und die ist in einem Wohnhaus einfach drin. Und diese Menschen irgendwie von den Geschichten zu hören, das bewegt doll und das emotionalisiert das ganze Thema enorm.
Der Umgang in der Öffentlichkeit mit den erinnerungskulturellen Produkten sind eine ganz große Herausforderung. Das geht von Schändung von Stolpersteinen über das Beschmieren von Gedenktafeln über die physische Präsenz von Neonazis, wenn die Tafeln eingeweiht werden. So hatten wir beispielsweise letztes Jahr in Geithain ein Autokorso von Neonazis, als wir die Stolpersteine dort verlegt haben, um sozusagen die Bevölkerung einfach zu verunsichern. Und komischerweise gab es die zeitliche Koinzidenz, dass noch in der Nacht nach der Stolpersteinverlegung die Steine am nächsten Tag mit Beton übergossen wurden. Und das ist natürlich so eine Entwicklung, die sich aus diesen ganzen geschichtsrevisionistischen Tendenzen, die ja auch in der Öffentlichkeit und durch die Medien immer mehr Präsenz finden in den Köpfen der Menschen, hervorgerufen wird. Und deswegen sind wir wirklich der Ansicht, dass historisch-politische Bildungsarbeit der Schlüssel ist, um Rechtsextremismusprävention zu betreiben. Und das geht schon bei Schülern los.
Für mich ist das ein ganz, ganz großer Beitrag dieser Arbeit, die ich als Lehrer nicht leisten kann, der Fragen, wie ich Geschichtskultur lebendig mache, Erinnerungskultur lebendig mache. Und das konnte mir eigentlich das Erich Zeigner Haus geben.
Also wir erhoffen uns von dem Obermaier Award natürlich nicht nur eine Anerkennung unserer Arbeit, die weder finanziell noch politisch in Sachsen bisher meines Erachtens adäquat gewürdigt wurde, sondern es ist für uns die Chance, unsere Arbeit nicht nur quantitativ, sondern wahrscheinlich auch qualitativ zu verbessern. Denn wir verbinden damit auch, dass wir neue Kooperationspartner, Netzwerke gewinnen können, die sozusagen unsere Arbeit von Leipzig auch in andere Ortschaften trägt. Denn wir sind davon überzeugt, dass unser Konzept unserer historisch-politischen Arbeit gegen Rechtsextremismus und Antisemitismus auch über Leipzig hinaus gesellschaftspolitische Erfolge verzeichnen kann.
The Obermaier Award 2021 is awarded to the Erich Zeigner House, and I would like to welcome Henry Lefkowitz online. Congratulations on winning the award. Thank you. Well, this was a very impressive insight into your work. You are offering extended understanding of German history to the young people you work with, not only on a theoretical basis, but also in a very hands-on way. Why is your work special to you personally? Thank you, Mrs. Kupferberg. I would like to highlight 3 aspects. In the video clip, you could see that our work is really linked to the place where it takes place, basically. I'm sitting at the very table where Erich Zeigner used to sit with his family. Now we bring young people together at this table, and for them it is much easier to understand history if they can see the object, this table where history took place, if you will. So they get a first-hand impression of what things looked like back then. The second thing I'd like to stress is that we recognized that our work cannot be limited only to raising awareness for young people, but also with adults, because they are also affected by racism and anti-Semitism. So we have educational events here at the Erich Zeigner House several times a week, which are geared towards adults. And the third aspect is our unique selling point, if you will. We want to highlight both sides of the medal, not only looking at the individual lives of victims of the Nazi era, which we honor by, for instance, placing stumbling stones in the ground, in the pavement, but we also want to show how other resistance fighters worked. We also want to honor their lives by, for instance, putting up plaques, commemorative plaques in the public space. Thank you very much, and congratulations again. Thanks for the great work you're doing. Every success for the future. And as you said in the video, we would like to see more awareness being raised for your work in Saxony. So this is your certificate for the Erich Zeigner House and the pin. You will receive this in the post shortly. All the best for you. Thank you. Now let's move on to the next awardee, which is awarded to the cellist and local historian Friederike Fechner, an individual in this case. We just saw 2 associations being honored. Now, Patrick, why did the jury select Mrs. Fechner as an awardee? Well, the great thing about Mrs. Fechner is that she is a prime example of this historical work being down to a coincidence, a lucky coincidence, because she happened to move to the city of Stralsund in the north of Germany a couple of years ago, and the house she moved into is actually the object that her work bears on, and she has created a story that is actually beautiful. She is a prime example for someone who belongs to the generation of the children of those who lived during the Nazi era. And she illustrates how the children of those who lived during the Nazi era can accept responsibility if they face up to their own family history. Because before she moved into the house, no one was really interested in the history of that building. But she persevered and told the story of this house. Another thing that was special about her is that she managed to highlight the lives of the Jewish families in Stralsund, and particularly in the building. She managed to reunite the families who once lived there. So you can see how her work really bears fruit in reality. She manages to give rise to reconciliation. So her commemorative work really makes a great contribution to this. Now, I think we are very curious to find out more about Friederike Fechner and her research. Let's look at the video.
Während ich dieses schreibe, ist bereits der Keller und der Laden leer. Ich sitze zum letzten Male in meiner halb ausgeräumten Stube und wehmütig gedenke ich der Zeiten, in denen ich als Kind auf meines Vaters Schoße im gleichen Raum gesessen habe. So schließe ich denn dieses Buch mit dem Gelöbnis, wie und wo ich mir auch ein neues Leben aufbauen werde. Dieses Ganze stets auf der Grundlage eines anständigen und ehrbaren Kaufmanns geschehen wird, so wie ich es von euch, ihr lieben Verstorbenen, gelernt habe. Stralsund, den 21. Juni 1938, Karl Blach, ehemaliger Inhaber der Firma Gebrüder Blach. Mein Name ist Friederike Fechner, ich bin in Hannover geboren. Nach der Schulzeit habe ich Musik studiert, ich bin Cellistin und unterrichte hier an der Musikschule und gebe Konzerte. Ich bin außerdem seit 2014 Bürgerschaftsmitglied hier im Stralsunder Stadtparlament und ich habe mich in letzter Zeit sehr mit der jüdischen Geschichte von Stralsund beschäftigt.
Frau Fechner kam vor einigen Jahren zu uns ins Archiv. Ihr Mann und sie hatten kurz zuvor ein Haus in der Heilgeiststraße erworben und wollten es sanieren und sind dann bei ihren Recherchen darauf gestoßen, dass es sich über viele Jahre im Besitz der jüdischen Familie Blach befunden hat. Und Frau Fechner wollte einfach mehr über diese Familie herausfinden und hat uns um Unterstützung gebeten. Und daraus hat sich eben eine mehrjährige Zusammenarbeit entwickelt.
In February of 2016, Friederike Fechner emailed me to ask if I, by any chance, was the great-grandson of Julius Bloch. And she was trying to locate descendants in the United States. This email began a remarkable process of discovery or rediscovery for me and my family.
Es hat sie unablässig dann beschäftigt und je mehr sie wusste, desto mehr wollte sie wissen. Teils durch Zufall, teils aber auch durch systematische Suche hat sie das dann herausbekommen, wie groß diese Familie ist und wie weit die reicht, eben von Tel Aviv bis nach Los Angeles.
Naja, es war so, dass die Ereignisse sich multipliziert haben, dass ich dachte, ich muss es aufschreiben. Und daraus habe ich dann den Vortrag erstellt und das Zitat von Elie Wiesel an den Anfang gestellt. Das Gegenteil von Liebe ist nicht Hass, sondern Gleichgültigkeit. Und das Gegenteil von Erinnern ist nicht Vergessen, sondern Gleichgültigkeit. Und dem wollen wir einfach, den muss man heutzutage und immer entgegenwirken, dass man nie gleichgültig wird. Nach der ganzen Familienhausrecherche ist mir jetzt auch sehr wichtig mit unserer Initiative zur Erinnerung an jüdisches Leben in Stralsund die jüdische Geschichte von Stralsund stärker sichtbar zu machen und auch im Bewusstsein der Stralsunder Bevölkerung stärker zu verankern.
She has worked tirelessly to make visible in her hometown of Stralsund the history of its Jewish community. She's done that not only through the restoration of the Block House, but through the placement of memorial stones and memorial markers throughout the city, through her involvement in public lectures and commemorative events. She has in her work that she has done in addition to a professional career as a musician, made countless numbers of people aware of a history that had been repressed or forgotten. And I have nothing but admiration for her.
Friederike Fechner, congratulations on the Obermeyer Award. And I'm delighted to welcome you here today online. Thank you. So, do you see the world with different eyes now that you have looked so deeply into the history of Jews in Stralsund? Yes, well, I do. When I walk the streets of my city and when I see the stumbling stones, it becomes clear to me that we didn't leave, that the wounds that we inflicted upon those families become clear to me, and the wounds that we inflicted upon ourselves. And I walk the streets of my city and I try to imagine I were in the 1920s. And imagine the many Jewish and non-Jewish shops, and then the family members of the Blach family come back alive in my memories. I can imagine that when you wander those worlds, when you wander the worlds of those days, read the diaries of those people, the letters, all of the things that you rediscovered. What gives you the strength and the motivation to do the work? Every stumbling stone is hard to take in, but the many friendships that came about thanks to it make me happy, because you see that both sides wish to get back into touch and to build a friendship. many other descendants of other families got in touch with me after I started to reach out and to help lectures, and they let me know how important it is to them to find out more about their roots. And there are many descendants who are now in the audience online today, and this makes me very happy. I would like to thank you once again for your commitment, Ms. Fechner. Once again, congratulations on the 2021 Obermeyer Award. This is your certificate. Patrick Ziegler is holding it for you to give you a glimpse of it at least. You will soon receive it. All the best, Ms. Fechner. Yes, the next Obermeyer Award goes to another individual, this year to Dr. Marion Lilienthal, a scholar, historian, writer, and teacher by profession. Patrick, what impressed you when it came to the work of Miss Lilienthal as a jury? After 3 awardees from Eastern Germany, we will now go to West Germany, to Hesse. And as you said, Miss Lilienthal has a PhD in history, and she's one of the leading experts on Nazi history in the region and beyond. She published benchmark books, so has started her work from a very professional standpoint. And she also used the fact that she is a teacher, because at the Obermeyer Award is not just about researching history, but also about passing on knowledge and teaching. And she did countless projects with her pupils and passed on her knowledge. She also managed to get in touch with many survivors and descendants and get them in touch with young people. And as she told us at the Obermeyer Forum, she is herself very young at heart, and at the moment she is working on creating an app on the Jewish life and former Jewish communities in Korbach, her hometown. So she connects working with young people and researching history, and this is what convinced us as a jury. So we are excited to see the film and learn more about her work.
Ich habe mal gelernt, auch schon als junger Mensch, man muss jeden Tag für Demokratie eintreten. Demokratie ist nicht etwas Selbstverständliches. Respekt und vorurteilsfrei mit anderen umzugehen, ist ein Lernprozess. Und insofern kann ich natürlich auch durch die Arbeit mit Jugendlichen sie an diesen Prozess heranführen. Als Oberstudienrätin unterrichte ich in Korbach an einem ehrwürdigen Gymnasium. Das liegt in schönen Waldeck-Frankenberg. Ich habe Geschichte, Philosophie, Geografie und Germanistik studiert. Seit über 20 Jahren bin ich hier als Regionalhistorikerin tätig, bemühe mich insbesondere um die Aufarbeitung der NS-Vergangenheit auf vielfältige Art und Weise. Und natürlich ist es mir wichtig, insbesondere auch die Geschichte der jüdischen Gemeinde und der jüdischen Kultur hier in der Öffentlichkeit zu verankern. Was mir besonders immer sehr am Herzen liegt, sind die Schulprojekte, um junge Menschen in die Arbeit einzubeziehen, im Rahmen eben von Ausstellungen und Führung, und was ich auch sehr früh angefangen habe, meine Forschungsergebnisse online zu stellen.
Der Umgang mit modernen Medien zeigt es ja, wie wichtig es ist, Zugänge zu ermöglichen. Diese Zugänge, gerade für junge Leute, die sagen, das ist nicht etwas, was mich nicht mehr angeht. Es geht uns alle an in der Frage von Intoleranz, in der Frage von Rassismus. Und dieses Lernen daraus, das Lernen aus der Geschichte, funktioniert halt nicht nur mit trockenen Weitergaben von Wissen, sondern mit interaktiven Strukturen. Und das ist das, was Frau Lilienthal herausgearbeitet hat, sich diesem Thema völlig anders zu nähern und damit junge Menschen zu begeistern.
Es ist für mich auch eine wichtige Arbeit, insbesondere diese tragischen Schicksale im öffentlichen Bewusstsein zu halten, damit auch andere aus diesen Ereignissen lernen. Ich merke das gerade mit Schülern, wenn ich auf das Strukturelle verweise. Wie ist es dazu gekommen? Warum fehlte es an Zivilcourage? Warum haben die Leute nichts gemacht? Aber es gab auch Handlungsalternativen. Es gab Menschen, die etwas gemacht haben. Und gerade auf diese Aspekte, es gab nämlich diese Alternative. Man hätte sich auch anders verhalten können.
Frau Lilienthal hat uns im Unterricht darauf sensibilisiert, dass wir im Alltag erkennen können, wenn Leute rassistische Äußerungen von sich geben, wenn sich irgendwelche demokratiefeindlichen Strukturen wieder ausbilden oder anfangen, irgendwie sich zu zeigen, dass wir mit aller Kraft, die wir irgendwie haben, dagegen stemmen und auch was sagen, wenn uns auffällt, dass irgendwo irgendjemand was sagt, was einfach falsch ist, was nicht richtig ist, was die Geschichte irgendwie verharmlost in irgendeiner Form. Und ich denke, das habe ich aus dem Unterricht irgendwie mitgenommen.
Und Lilienthal gehört eben zu diesen großen Ausnahmepersönlichkeiten, die weit über das normale Berufliche hinaus eben wirken, unendlich viele Schülerinnen und Schüler motiviert hat in Arbeitsgruppen und bei der Mitarbeit bei Publikationen und Ähnliches. Und das ist das, was wir so besonders schätzen.
Mir war es sehr früh wichtig, sich auch moderner Medien zu bedienen. Online erreiche ich natürlich mehr. Dieses Gedenkportal, es ist ein Gedenkportal für die Opfer der NS-Vergangenheit Korbachs, ein Online-Portal, das die Schicksale der einzelnen Opfergruppen in die Öffentlichkeit trägt.
When they open this site, and see names and see houses and read about what happened, it makes things more alive. So the knowledge she's accumulating is not remaining in her. She's transferring it to other people, which I think is maybe her best achievement.
Vorurteilsfreies Handeln, tolerantes Handeln ist nicht etwas Angeborenes, sondern es ist etwas, was wir früh an die Heranwachsenden ihnen nahebringen müssen. Und je vielfältiger in unterschiedlichen Bereichen verankert, ob das jetzt ist über ein Online-Portal, ob das ist über Unterricht, ob das ist über eine Ausstellung. Es gibt ja ganz vielfältige Möglichkeiten. Und ich sage nur, wenn man nur einen Menschen erreicht, dann hat man schon etwas erreicht.
Congratulations on your award, Dr. Marion Lilienthal. Good evening. Good evening to you. What drives you personally to look into these stories, to dig into the past? Or in other words, was there a spark in inspiration? As an historian, this is your daily work, looking into things. But was there anything in particular that sparked this for you? Well, there are many things that motivate you, that drive you. One main one was as a young woman, the fates of those who were persecuted really touched me. And then in the 1980s, when I was politically active, I had to find that there were very few people who were ready to do something, to contribute, and I wasn't willing to accept that. I wanted to make these events visible and contribute to coming to terms with history. I was well aware that we couldn't redo what was done, or the pain and suffering, but we could make it visible and make sure that things wouldn't repeat themselves. Even today, people are persecuted and discriminated against because of their skin color, for instance, or their origin. You said it was quite moving for you to research biographies. How are you doing today? Does it still move you? Does it still touch you? Yes, of course, it's hard. Biographies, that you research, they capture you. You suffer with the people. You can't really distance yourself from it, especially when it comes to very tragic events. These are things that really touch you deep inside. When I think of the destiny of Bernhard Löwenstein, a 25-year-old pupil who at this age of 25 was killed by the Nazis. He had his whole life ahead of him. Or I think of the destiny of a mother who wrote a letter to her son with the wish to see him again, but then was killed in Auschwitz. These are biographies that touch you deeply. And of course, you have to be... sometimes I fight with tears when I read these things. But what is so wonderful, and you said it in the film, is that you try to raise the awareness here and now. And I think you're quite successful in doing so when we hear your students. So one of the 2021 Obermeyer Awards goes to Marion Lilienthal. I wish you all the best for your work and your future. And once again, congratulations. This is your certificate. All the best and thank you. Yes. And there are a few more awardees left. We will present them in just a brief moment. We will take a small musical pause. Music from Kurt Weill, Yukali. Now for you.
Thank you to the cellist Alice Dixon and the accordionist Gerhard Schiever who are part of the band Tango Deluxe. Let's move on to the other awardees of the Obermeier Award 2021. The next awardee is Elizabeth Kahn. Now, Patrick, can you tell us something more about Elizabeth Kahn's work? Why did the jury plump for her? Well, Mrs. Kahn is also an artist. She used to be a professional dancer and later on moved to the theatre, and she earned a degree in educational science as a mature student. Now, her work centers on Berlin and Regensburg, and her historical research is combined with artistic means. For instance, she uses biographies of people, but she also uses people's own account of their lives, which she uses as a basis for her artistic representations. She involves young people in these, in her artistic work, thus offering high quality outcomes. Now, we actually met some of the students ourselves as part of the jury work, and we could see with our own eyes that she has a very emotional access, very emotional approach to the work, and it is very compelling to see this work playing out on the ground. And it's great also for the young people who are involved in these projects. So it's definitely a great person. Now let's look at Elizabeth Kahn's work in the following video.
Ich bin Elisabeth Kahn und komme ursprünglich aus dem Bereich der Kunst, Tanz und Theater. Ich habe Erziehungswissenschaften anschließend studiert und seitdem versuche ich beides miteinander zu verbinden.
Sind Sie dran schuld an allem sind die Juden schuld. Ach so!
Antisemitismus ist doch noch weiterhin in der Welt. Und wenn man vielleicht sich mit den Menschen auseinandersetzt, ein kleines bisschen, worum es ging, dann wird man vielleicht nicht merken, dass sie gar nicht so viel anders war als einer, der nicht jüdischer Herkunft ist. Also, ja, geht um Vorurteile, Abbau von Vorurteilen.
Bis April 1942 arbeitete ich als Konsulent in Leipzig. Dann wurde ich vom Unbekannten wegen Verkehr mit Ariern denunziert.
Martin wird am 3.4.1942 von der Gestapo Leipzig verhaftet.
Das Besondere an der Theaterarbeit mit Elisabeth Kahn ist tatsächlich der Fakt, dass sie mit Originaldokumenten arbeitet. Im Unterricht kann man sowas besprechen und dann sagen die Schüler, aha, ja, so war's. Aber in dem Moment, wo sie Martin Meyrovitz spielen oder diejenigen spielen, mit denen sie zu tun hatten, das ist ein ganz anderes Erleben von Geschichte.
Bei einem Fluchtversuch aus dem Lager des KZ Flossenbürg erschossen.
Ob ich noch einmal wiederkomme? Ich will doch meine Kinder wiedersehen. Ob ich noch einmal wiederkomme?
Also ich glaube, dass diese Theaterstücke, so schlimm der Inhalt ist, den sie dort präsentieren, ihnen letztendlich Stärke gibt. Und sie merken eben, sie können etwas dagegen tun, indem sie Aufklärung betreiben. Und von daher, es ist letztendlich Antirassismusarbeit, würde ich sagen, die wir hier machen.
Weil das ist ja auch eine Sache, das ist eigentlich zeitrelevant. Das heißt, es passieren immer noch solche Sachen in unserer Welt. Und das erinnert ja wieder, wie gesagt. Und ich finde, das ist sehr wichtig, dass auch die neuen Generationen, also die Jüngeren, das davon auch mitbekommen und sich intensiver damit beschäftigen, damit wir halt von diesen Fehlern der Vergangenheit lernen und das dann auch in der Zukunft umsetzen können.
Es ist eine andere Form von Geschichtsunterricht. Der Geschichtsunterricht ist abstrakt. Also so geht es mir jedenfalls. Ich kann mir nicht so viel vorstellen, aber an einem Beispiel, da kann ich viel mehr nachvollziehen, worum es eigentlich geht. Es geht immer um einen anderen Blickwinkel auf die gleiche Geschichte, um es noch mehr erklären zu können.
Also Elisabeth Kahn ist Tänzerin, ist Schauspielerin, sie bringt ganz viele Künstler mit dazu, ne? Tontechniker, Bühnenbildner, Choreografen. Das heißt, das bekommt eine Professionalität für die Schüler, die wir als Schule natürlich überhaupt nicht leisten können, selbst wenn wir eine Theater-AG machen. Das hat ein ganz anderes Niveau, auf dem wir da arbeiten.
Am Anfang war es so, dass wir eine Woche lang in den Herbstferien durchgearbeitet haben und Elisabeth Kahn Texte hatte, die wir dann durchlesen sollten und gucken sollten, welche wir davon wollen. Und danach, als wir das halt hatten, sollten wir Rollen bestimmen und haben halt angefangen, das Stück zu spielen. Und damit hat Elisabeth Kahn sehr geholfen, weil sie die ganzen Beiträge aus Archiven hatte und uns halt geholfen hat, wie wir unsere Stimme verbessern können, wie wir lauter reden können, was wir genau sagen können und sowas alles.
Also ich liebe es, wenn die Jugendlichen den Erwachsenen etwas mitteilen, was eigentlich die Erwachsenen wissen könnten.
Ich finde, dass Elisabeth unheimlich authentisch ist in ihrer Arbeit. Sie vermittelt den Schülern jetzt nicht nur das müsst ihr wissen, sondern welche Bedeutung hat dieses Wissen eigentlich für euch heute?
Warum tut ihr nichts? Warum helft ihr nicht? Warum hört ihr nicht hin? Was passiert, wenn nichts passiert? Wenn nichts passiert, nichts passiert, nichts passiert.
Elisabeth Kahn, our awardee this year, congratulations to you as well. How do you actually manage to inspire people over and over again for your cause? It was actually good to see how you work, how you present the young people with actual texts you find in the archives, how you train their acting skills. Now, how do you actually manage to inspire them? Well, it's very intense work, doing this work with young people. And it's always fascinating to see texts coming alive. I work together with colleagues, of course, with teachers, also retired teachers, by the way. And so we have a broad variety of skills that come together. Our work, our colleagues are professionals. They are often trained in drama and theatrical skills, theatrical professions. And we're always trying to build on our innate skills to inspire the young people and to lead them. Now, of course, there are sometimes educational projects which are different from projects during the time outside school. And something we've always observed is that the young people are often skeptical at the outset of a project because they don't know what is ahead of them and what this project will involve. But once they start digging into the biographies of the people that the play is about, they gain a personal understanding and a personal relation. They relate to their lives, and this is decisive, actually. This personal experience is decisive because they always also learn about their own forebears and their own ancestors. All right, so this is how you arouse the curiosity of young people and motivate them. Now, you said it's always astonishing what you hear from young people. That often comes as a surprise to adults. Now, what do you get out of personally, out of this work as an artist and as a human being? Well, it confirms me in my choice, because sometimes we work with people, with young people who we thought wouldn't be up to the task. And then they actually grow stronger. They live up to our expectations. I see the progress they make and also the relief they feel. For instance, when they have stage fright, I also suffer from stage fright, of course, But it's always great to see when they succeed in what they're doing. Yes, I also think this stays with you for the rest of your life. So thanks a lot for your great work, and congratulations again on winning this award. So here's your certificate and the pin, which will also be sent to you through the mail. So yeah, this is your personal award certificate. Thanks a lot. We have one more award tonight, which will go to Volker Keller. Congratulations to you as well. And Patrick, can you tell me something about this particular awardee? Sometimes we see that it's often down to individuals, the work of individuals who get things moving. Why did the jury pick Mr. Keller for the award? Well, as you said, Volker Keller is a prime example for individual commitment and the difference you can make as an individual. And I think it is right to speak about an outstanding life's work in the case of Mr. Keller, which he keeps building on. He's one of those people, well, I used the word curiosity a couple of times tonight, and Mr. Keller told me that even in his youth, in the 50s and 60s, he was looking for answers to his questions, and he never got those answers. And he said, and this is why he decided to become engaged himself, to look for answers to his questions. So this is why he delved into biographies of people. And later on, he involved young people in his work, in his own quest for answers. That was always close to his heart. And in this way, he managed to identify the names of Jewish victims of the Holocaust. More than 2,200 Jewish victims were identified thanks to his work. And this has given rise to one of the most impressive memorials for the Shoah in Mannheim, which we will see in the video that we are about to watch. Yes, as you rightly say, his work is outstanding. Now let's look at the details of his work in the following video.
Blatt von 1936, das war eine Sondernummer und da wurde nochmal Bestand aufgenommen, was denn alles in Mannheim so alles gab. Da gab es ja die Synagogen, da gab es das Krankenhaus, es gab das Altersheim, es gab die Mikwe. Also es ist so eine Art Bestandsaufnahme oder man kann sagen Abschiedsnummer. Denn man hat ja schon 1936 deutlich gespürt, worauf es hinausläuft, dass also die Mannheimer Gemeinde Abschied nimmt und sich schon damals in Auflösung befand. Und das kann nicht für alle Zeiten einfach vergessen werden und verschwunden bleiben. Die Mannheimer Geschichte und die Geschichte der jüdischen Gemeinde Mannheim ist eines der faszinierendsten Themen, die ich kenne und die ich kennenlernen durfte. Mein Name ist Volker Keller. Ich bin 1954 geboren. Und warum ich heute hier sitze, das ist wohl dem Umstand zu verdanken, dass ich mich immer sehr für Judentum interessiert habe. Das war schon eigentlich in der Kindheit, kann ich mich erinnern. Und als Student hat mich das Thema dann auch sehr angezogen. Dass es aber sich so entwickelt, das wusste ich damals nicht. Es hat eigentlich ganz harmlos angefangen.
Wenn man irgendeine Nachfrage hat, ja, nach Namen, frage mal bitte Volker Keller. Der kann dir entweder weiterhelfen oder er hat schon Materialien hierzu.
I think that Volker and people like Volker, they're also a voice of conscience. They remind their communities, they remind the world of what had happened and that it should never be repeated.
Also wir sind in der Mannheimer Fußgängerzone, eigentlich so mittendrin, mitten im Geschäftsviertel. Und seit 2003 ist hier auch der gläserne Kubus, ist das zentrale Mannheimer Denkmal an die Opfer, an die jüdischen Opfer des Nationalsozialismus. Und ist sozusagen das Ergebnis von unserer Arbeit, die so 10, 15 Jahre vorher begonnen hat. Nämlich mit einer Jugendgruppe habe ich damals begonnen, die Liste der Opfer des Nationalsozialismus zusammenzustellen. Es schien so, als ob es unmöglich sei, wirklich alle Namen wahrheitsgetreu zusammenzufinden. Diese Aufgabe hat dann letztendlich das Stadtarchiv übernommen. Also es war eine unglaubliche Arbeit, aber weit über 2000 Namen haben sich dann schließlich rauskristallisiert. Und die sind eben jetzt verewigt hinter Glas.
Die Gegenwart speist sich aus der Vergangenheit und nur dann haben wir eine Zukunft, wenn wir uns damit auch auseinandersetzen. Und das ist ganz wichtig.
Also es braucht einerseits ein geschichtliches Bewusstsein, dass man weiß, woher man kommt und wie alles so geworden ist, wie es heute ist. Aber andererseits braucht es auch eine Perspektive in die Zukunft. Wenn man schöne Erlebnisse miteinander geteilt hat, dann ist das ein wunderbares Fundament, dass man sich auf eine gemeinsame Zukunft freuen kann und dass Neid und Hass, dass die immer eine geringere Rolle spielen. 2003 habe ich mal einen Aufsatz veröffentlicht über das Judenhaus Große Merzelstraße 7. Und dann hat sich ein Herr aus Israel gemeldet, es war der Daniel Barnea. Und er hat mir geschrieben, er sei einer von den Kindern gewesen, die damals nach Göst deportiert worden sind. Seine Eltern kamen dann in Auschwitz ums Leben, aber er selbst und sein Bruder, er wurde von einer französischen Hilfsorganisation gerettet.
This memorial still is not big in size, but is big in meaning, bringing here 3 generations of extended Heilbronner Barnea family and members of the community. For we all know that one of the best answers we can give in response to the terrible years of the Nazi regime and the Shoah is all of us standing here together today in front of this memorial with a message of tolerance, peace, compassion, and friendship. Thank you very much for making it possible.
What Volker is doing, his commemoration and his education efforts, really changed my father for the better. I felt really connected to what Volker is doing, and it allowed my family, me, my wife, to contribute to what Volker is doing, both to the memory, to the memorial stele, and to other projects that Volker has been doing over the years.
One of the Obermeyer Awards goes to Volker Keller. Congratulations, Mr. Keller. Thank you very much indeed. I'm over the moon. In the film, you said how this work fascinates you, looking into working with Judaism and Jewish history in Mannheim. What's the source of your fascination? Well, I'm a history fan, and I've always found it fascinating that Jewish culture is a culture of remembrance. It's a high culture, and remembering has an enormous importance. Remembering people, events, all of this is taken very seriously. Remembering means thinking, and thinking is human life. Man is the only living being that thinks and knows about its history. And he knows to use history to learn for the future. And then you ask about Mannheim. Of course, it's my home city, and the city's history is closely intertwined with the Jewish history. It's a trading city, and many tradespeople were Jewish people, so they have a long tradition in Mannheim. And they developed Mannheim together with Ludwigshafen, a city close by, into a trading center. But it wasn't just the Jewish elite, but also Jewish people from the east who were a lot poorer, and they enriched our history as well. In the film, you speak very clearly about the sense of perspective such work can give. How can we manage to focus on these perspectives in our work? Well, our recent history makes this very clear. During the Nazi times, the influence of Jews on our German history was denied. But Jewish Christian history is ancient, and only when we remember young people and inform them about this, they can find an answer to nationalism that is on the rise. And remembering this and reminding people of this is an important task of our democracy, because our democracy is under threat every day. And we shouldn't believe we are safe today. But let me say something else. I'd like to thank all of those who've supported my work, especially the contemporary witnesses, staff of the archives, the city of Mannheim, my friends and family. And today, above all, my thanks go to you, the family, Obermayr family, and your team. Your acknowledgement has been invaluable, and I'm more than delighted. Thank you very much. We all delighted about your curiosity and your hard work. I wish you all the best for your future and your future work. Volker Keller is receiving an Obermayr Award this year. In the form of this certificate, Volker Keller, you will receive this certificate, including the pin, in the coming days. Congratulations once again. These were this year's awardees, ladies and gentlemen. To all of you, once again, congratulations and a big thank you for your commitment. I would now like to introduce Joel Obermayr, who's with us from the United States, and he is representing the Obermayr family today. Hello, Joe.
Exactly what continues to encourage you as a family to offer this award, the enthusiasm and diversity of so many dedicated people who are making a difference. Yet one might ask, why is a US family primarily involved in Germany?
So in Judaism, there's a concept called tikkun olam. It means repairing the world. And one way of thinking about it is that each person has a role to play to repair what they can. And this is something my family has long believed. And it just turns out our family was put in a very fortunate position to help those who work to repair and heal in Germany. First, it was my father who wanted to raise awareness of the lives and culture of Jews who lived in Germany for hundreds of years, and not just how they died. And the more my generation of the family got involved, the more we felt we could do something further to have an impact not just on history work, but by helping those in Germany who use history to fight prejudice. And the truth is, we need that so badly in the US as well.
So let's talk about this further that you just mentioned. From the Obermayr Foundation, the organization Widen the Circle has emerged. What is exactly Widen the Circle?
Well, we know that in many parts of the world, there are extraordinary people like those we've seen today or tonight who are combating racism and anti-Semitism and a range of other prejudice at a local level by promoting a shared understanding of the past. Widen the Circle's approach starts with individuals and groups who have themselves worked at the ground level in their communities to fight prejudice and to confront the history that allowed prejudice to grow. Widen the Circle's mission is to shine a light on these people and then amplify their work to broaden its impact in Germany, in the US, and beyond. And we do this really in three ways. One is through running the Obermayr Awards. The next one is through building a network of people doing this work in Germany. And increasingly, the third thing is through extending this network to people who are doing similar work in the United States, again, because we know it's desperately needed there too.
So could you give us a little preview? What exactly will you be doing in the near future as part of Widen the Circle? Is there any project you can mention?
Sure, for sure. You know, if you had told me 10 years ago that what we'd be doing now and the impact we're having now, I'm not sure I would have believed you. So we have ambitious plans to extend the impact further. We are connecting people who use history to fight against the far right in Germany and those who are doing similar things in the United States related to the far right, hate groups, and anti-Semitism. We're already planning events around this in the spring, and we of course hope that those who are watching can join us. And when we can finally travel, we are bringing Germans who do profound work, or we will be bringing Germans, who do profound work related to remembrance and fighting prejudice to the deep south of the US to meet with counterparts dealing with the legacy of white supremacy in the United States. So stay tuned.
Wow, this is quite encouraging what you're planning to do. Good luck and thank you for your great engagement. Joel Obermeier, vielen, vielen Dank.
Thank you.
Ja, viel Engagement.
Great engagement here tonight. We always welcome people who follow the example of the many awardees we've seen tonight. We've come to the end of the award ceremony 2021. I would like to give thanks to the jury members and Patrick Ziegler for being our co-host tonight. A big thank you to the Berlin House of Representatives and the speaker Ralf Wieland. And before we hear the duo Tango Deluxe once more, I'd like to invite Ralf Wieland to the virtual panel to speak a few closing remarks. And my greetings to all of you and thank you for being with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say thank you first of all for the commitment of the awardees, of the prize winners, and congratulations once again for the award that you received tonight. I hope it will serve as a source of motivation to continue your hard work and maybe inspire many others to follow your example and win the award maybe in the future. I think in these trying times, there is the necessity to remember Jewish life in Germany and to build bridges into the present in the fight against anti-Semitism, against all of the things we've heard about today. I think the Obermeier Award is a wonderful occasion and gives us the opportunity to encourage people and to give them the due recognition. I'd like to thank Judith and Joel Obermeier. Greetings to the US and of course to the rest of the family. Thank you for your commitment, for your hard work. A big thank you to Sarah Nahama, to Patrick Ziegler and Jerry Kupferberg for doing their part here today. A big thank you to the two musicians, of course, Moritz Schmidt, the filmmaker, and his team. A big thank you to the staff of the Berlin House of Representatives who've done a wonderful job in the background. To all of you, take good care of yourselves, stay healthy, so that we can see each other once again next year in a very traditional way in person and meet each other and talk to one another and present the awards 2022. And now I'd like to ask for your attention for the duo Tango Deluxe. Thank you.